and it kind of like freaked me out a little bit because they had like tails.
The kids had tails?
Yeah.
Why would that freak you out?
I don't really know what it did. But
we have tailbones, which are vestiges
you don't
of...
have like tails.
No, but it's close.
Yeah, so I'm definitely...
Hey guys, so today is a special video because I have Ania and Winnie.
Hi.
Apparently Winnie's in the video as well. Joining me, we're gonna talk books. We are specifically gonna talk about what, Ania?
Scythe.
Scythe, that's right. Which is a book that we both read recently. We're both excited to talk about it, and we'll get into some other stuff maybe that we've read recently, or maybe we're reading right now, or maybe we'll find out what kind of books Winnie would want to read if she could read. She would probably love the book I'm reading right now, actually, Wolf Song. Yeah. So anyway, so Ania, talk about yourself a little bit.
I'm 14, I love animals, I'm going into my first year of high school, and I also love reading books.
You do love reading books. And high school, aren't you representing right there, Fairview?
I guess I am.
Yeah, that's your high school. So that's exciting. That's an exciting time, transitioning from middle school to high school. Do you feel like there's going to be a difference also in the type of books you're reading as you're going
Most
through that
likely,
transition?
because there are a lot of more literature types of books that we have to read for class.
Mm-hmm. So not so much these types, but a little bit more classics maybe, right?
Yes.
Anything you've read in the past?
As in literature?
Yeah. Recently?
I had summer reading, which is where I had to read Of Mice and Men, which is a very good book in my opinion.
You liked it?
I did. I found it not as difficult to read as I was at first expecting, which was good.
It has a little bit of a specific language from the 30s, from the time where it takes place and the place where the action happens, right? That could be a little bit difficult, but otherwise I think it's a very straightforward story, right?
Yes.
Very gripping, very emotionally packed.
For sure, the twist at the end was very unexpected, and I think I started screaming when I first read it.
Really?
Yes.
You were affected by the ending?
Yes.
I was as well. There were a lot of things here that are affecting in this book, and it's such a short book. In case you haven't read Steinbeck, Of Mice and Men, I think we both can certainly recommend this, right?
Yes.
Because yeah, it's such a short book. I think it's less than 100 pages.
It's 107 pages.
100. She knows exactly the page count. Also, but we're not here to talk about classics, are we?
No.
We're here to talk about science fiction, SF,
That's
right? Tell me, what have you read in science fiction so far?
Well, I'm just recently starting with my science fiction journey.
I
I haven't read a lot of science fiction, but what I have read was Project Hail Mary, which I really, really liked.
Yeah.
It was my first science fiction book, and it was very good. I started reading Ender's Game, but I didn't really get into it, although I do want to go back because
You haven't
the
finished it.
plotline was very good. And then now I think the third one is Scythe.
And this is all in the last months, right?
Yes.
So prior to that, you don't think you've read much in the genre?
I wasn't really into that genre.
Okay.
Although I have read some fantasy when I was smaller, like the Warrior Cat book series. If you watched it, leave a comment.
Yeah, Warrior Cats. I remember you had like a whole...
I do, and it's
Shelf
cool
full of
because
them.
all of the spines create a photo, so.
Yeah,
Of
that's
a cat.
satisfying when books look good on the shelf too, right?
I agree.
We like that. Also, you know, fantasy, you mentioned Harry Potter. You read
Harry Potter I did not read.
Just watch the movies? Natalia
Yeah.
read.
I know, because I was with you guys when you guys were reading
Yeah.
it, but I was too young to actually read it, so I only watched the movies.
Interesting. I didn't
And after
realize.
I watched the movies, I didn't have a need to read the books.
All right. Well,
And I
let's...
probably should have read the books first.
Yeah, it's always a good idea to read the book first before watching the adaptation, right?
Yes.
So let's talk about this book, Scythe. This was written in 2016. It's a series of books. There are 3 of them. We do have all of them, although both of us, we've only read the first one. The Toll is the last one, and the middle book is Thunderhead. So it's a good-looking series by Neal Shusterman. This book has gotten some awards. In fact, I think it was on the list of Time's 100 recommended books for young adults, all-time list, all young adult books. So yeah, it's definitely a book that's gotten a lot of acclaim. It's well regarded online. People love it. Lots of good reviews on Goodreads, etc. The story, very quickly, just to get into it, we have 2 main protagonists, Ronan and Citra.
Rowan.
Say it.
Rowan.
Rowan. I always screw it up. And Citra. I got Citra right, I think. they live in a world where no one has to die anymore, right? It's kind of a utopian world. All the problems have been solved. There's an interesting entity, and book 2, I think, digs a little bit more into that, Thunderhead, that is this omnipresent artificial intelligence, conscious, solving all problems.
It's kind of like Google on steroids.
Yeah, it is. Exactly. Or more like ChatGPT on steroids, actually, not Google, right?
I guess.
Yeah. So, it's interesting because it's kind of maybe foreshadowing our future a little bit to a certain extent. Who knows? But in that world, while we have solved most of the issues, overpopulation is still a problem. Humanity has tried to reach out to the stars, other planets. We've been unable to colonize them. So people still have to die, even though they don't need to. People could live forever. Because of that, there is an organization that does what, Ania? Maybe jump in.
Well, the organization is called, oh my god, Scythe. No way, right?
Yeah.
And it's where there are a few people, well, not a few actually, quite a lot of people selected.
Throughout the world.
Yeah, throughout the world, selected to murder others. So it's like a kind of a population control thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not called murder because they think that that's too, like...
Not politically correct, for sure.
Yeah, so they call it gleaning. So the Scythes, they go to a random person's house and they just kind of kill them for population control.
Yeah, which is scary, right?
For sure.
And that's kind of the premise of the book. And I think it's an interesting premise. It definitely feels a little bit like a follow-up to maybe books like Hunger Games, right? This utopian but dystopian at the same time, meaning kind of everything's perfect, but then there's this dark layer underneath,
yeah.
Right? Does that make sense? For sure. So tell me your experience with the book. Did you like it right away? What did you think of the book?
I did.
Anything?
So what happened was when you recommended the book to me and told me like the premise, I was very interested because obviously it's a very cool concept of a book. And when I started reading it, I connected to the two main characters, Rowan and Citra, like very fast because they were around in my age. And they were just like really good people, I think. And
that's why they were. So they get chosen. We're not gonna give too many spoilers, but this is stuff from the beginning of the book, essentially. So they get chosen to be apprentices for the Scythes, right? Mm-hmm. They're gonna be learning how to glean or kill people in various ways. And I think the interesting thing, maybe one background thing with this organization that is killing people, there seems to be some division within this global organization where some of the Scythes feel that their job as population control is unfortunate but necessary, and they want to do it in as ethical way as possible, like, right? Most humane, most ethical, choosing the right person, right? Even though it's supposed to be random, the way death in real life is random. I mean, unfortunately, kids sometimes die in car accidents, stuff happens. So they're supposed to kind of mimic that. But then there is this other part of Scythedom that feels that, no, this is just like fun. They're enjoying doing the killings, which is kind of scary. And I think that that tension between those two is really at heart of this book. But continue. So that our two main protagonists are chosen to be apprentices.
Yes, and I thought that their relationship with each other was also very amusing to be reading. And it was very cool because in each chapter it switched off from being more Rowan's perspective to Citra's, and it was just really nice to read that. And I thought that the writing style of the book was very gripping, and I think I read it in like 3 days, which for me is pretty fast because I have other things, like other activities that I do in the day.
You're a busy lady.
Yeah.
And it's summertime. Are you enjoying the summer?
I am enjoying the summer.
Yeah. So anyway, so we have the two main protagonists. There's a little bit of a love story there too, isn't there? A little bit, right? It's not as...
It's very subtle, but there are definitely hints of...
Yeah, which may or may not develop in the later books.
I guess we'll find out.
We'll find out. They do... there is a big twist also in this book.
Don't say what it is.
I'm not going to say what it is. But both of them are apprentices with the same Scythe, right? His name is Faraday, Scythe Faraday. Each Scythe gets to choose a name that they feel maybe does what?
Kind of represents them in a way, and it's a lot of times very famous people, like Marie Curie.
Yeah.
One of the Scythes was named after.
Yeah, and actually, what I found interesting, being a little bit of an older, just a little bit of an older reader, because these books are obviously geared. I think 14. You're 14. I think that's
Yes.
kind of the sweet spot for kids. But I think adults can also enjoy these. By the way, immensely. They're a lot of fun, or at least the first book was a lot of fun, because even though it's a page turner, it's fast. It's action packed. You have as you're reading the book, you're learning more and more about this world. You're progressing through this story. They're learning things as we are also, the two main protagonists. But also there's some deeper philosophical questions underlying a lot of the action.
Yeah.
You know, you start to imagine in a society like this, how ethical is what they're doing, right? And you're trying to figure this out as you're reading. And what I enjoyed a lot, I think they were the two main characters were fine, but I really liked some of the Scythes more. The older, the adults, like Faraday and Curie, for example. I thought they were really excellent. I wanted more from them, you know.
I agree.
I think they were really well presented, their humanity in the face of what they have to do almost daily, because they almost daily have to kill someone, right?
I think it's because they have all the sides have kind of like a meeting 3 times a year, I believe.
Yes.
And between each meeting, there's like a amount of humans that they have to glean, and they could do 1 every day or do just like 5 one day in a week or something like that. But they just have to like have a certain number of people between each meeting.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So that tells you a little bit about what the book is like. There's big action also happening in the book, big twists, which we mentioned. So it's a fun book to read. It's philosophical also at times. You could ponder some deeper things about what the future may hold for us. But also there are things that come up in it that are unusual. For example, the fact that you cannot die naturally also means not just of old age, but also you have these nanobots throughout your body, right? That essentially prevent you from dying in a normal setting. So you could, if you do get into a horrible car accident, they can typically rush you to a hospital and painlessly revive you within a couple of days. You'll be just fine. Whether limbs are crushed, lost, doesn't matter. So death has been wiped out. Because of that, there are some kids, some teenagers who are basically playing games where they're trying to kill themselves and be revived for fun. What did you think about that part of the book? I'm curious. Did you enjoy that?
I thought it was pretty
There's
funny
one guy, right,
because
who
there
does
was one guy, which was Rowan's best friend, Tiger, who did it quite a bit. And he did it mostly during the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
It was talked about, and it was kind of because, you know, the first reviving is free, as they talked about, but the other ones, they cost money.
Oh, really?
And,
I don't remember that.
yeah, and the reason why this boy Tiger was doing it was because he had a big family and no one really paid attention to him.
Oh.
So he wanted to like take attention to himself.
What kind of
So sad.
stuff would he do?
He jumped off of buildings,
Yeah.
so he called it like splatting,
Splatting, yeah.
which just sounds kind of rough.
So I could, you know what? I was thinking about it at first. I thought, this is silly. Who would want to kill themselves? But now that I think about it, I think a lot of people actually would. If you knew you're going to be revived, I could totally see this becoming in the future, like this type of future, kind of like an addiction almost, you know, where you're like, how many times have you killed yourself? Oh, only 20? You know, I'm triple digits or something to that effect, where you would think of, you know, more dumb ways to die. Remember that game or song, whatever that was? Dumb ways to die.
It's like a TikTok sound now.
Yeah. So many dumb ways to
That's a
die.
fun
That's
game.
what it seemed like. So anyway, anything else you wanted to add about this book?
I did want to say one thing about the characters too. In this book, I really liked how you saw the characters progress throughout the book because they were definitely very different from beginning to end, and it was really cool to like see it step by step, but to see how much like they changed throughout the book because it was a very big, like colossal change in the characters for sure.
Yeah. And are you planning on continuing with book 2 and then
Yes.
book 3?
I have a long lineup of books I need to read. I still have to read a nonfiction book for school, and there's a few others.
What are you reading
but
as far as nonfiction?
I'm reading.
I'm pretending I don't know. I actually do.
I'm reading Into Thin Air by John Krakauer. I just started it, and for right now, it seems to be going in the right direction, but I'm not fully into it. But I've only read 50 pages, so.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of my all-time favorite non-fiction books, Into Thin Air. I've read it several times. It talks about the horrible events on Mount Everest over 20 years ago. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that book because it is a powerful story of humanity, death, survival, and it really accurately depicts what it is like to scale high mountains.
Yes.
So anyway, but you are gonna get into Thunderhead, which is book 2.
1,000,000%.
Yeah, and from what I've been able to glean about Thunderhead is quite different. Does that even make sense?
No.
Okay, whatever. We may or may not cut that out.
Most likely.
It's gonna be different than book 1. It's still obviously our 2 main protagonists are here. But it is gonna be, I think we're gonna be introduced to someone else. It may or may not be Thunderhead itself, this artificial conscious being that is gonna become the protagonist, or maybe somebody else. I actually don't know, but I do know that some people don't like it because they were hoping for more, or front and center for Ronan and Citra.
Yeah, but I'm actually very excited to read this book just because from reading the first book, they didn't really much talk about the Thunderhead AI, and I thought it was really, really interesting, so I hope they go more into it in the second book. And it seems like it will, because that's the title.
So you're probably gonna read it before me. With this book, I read it and then I recommended it to you.
Right.
Now you're gonna read this one probably before me because I also have maybe a longer list of books to read. And it is young adult, so if you love it, I'm gonna rely on your recommendation. Is that okay? Awesome. So maybe just quickly, let's talk about what I'm reading also right now. I'm reading a couple of things at the same time. I'm reading Deepness in the Sky, just wanted to tell you. Hugo Award, great book, but I'm having a little bit of a hard time with it. I like it, I'm enjoying it. It's a good book, but there's just something about it that I'm finding myself not reading as many pages daily as I typically do. I don't have a problem putting it down, if you know what I mean. There are some books that...
Start.
And it's a little harder to start, even though it's good. So I don't know if it's the way it's written, if it's just something there. I'm not as connected with the characters perhaps as I was. This is a follow-up to Fire Up on the Deep.
Which we know is one of your favorites.
One, if not the favorite, all-time favorite SF book. So I'm definitely gonna finish it. I'm almost exactly halfway through it. And it is good, but it's just, it's just a little bit of a slower read for me. So because of that, I picked up Wolf Song, which kind of feels like a YA book, even though it's not, because it goes from sounding like a YA book into being really totally not YA. But I think you may want to read it at some point, even if it's not this year, in a couple of years for sure. I think you would enjoy it. And it's fun. It's an easy, fast read. I'm about maybe a fifth of the way through this one. I like it. TJ Klune wrote a book that I really enjoyed, In the Life of Puppets. I read it recently. I loved it. Hopefully you'll pick that up because I think you will adore that book. You will love it.
I have it in my want to read.
Do you?
I do.
On Goodreads?
On Goodreads.
Awesome. That's my girl. I'm also reading Outlive right now, which I kind of mostly finished, but it's one of those books that you can kind of go back and forth. Can you let him in?
Yeah.
Whoever that is. It's one of our dogs barking. And this is obviously a nonfiction book that talks about the science of longevity. And Peter Attia, a very popular guy online, very visible. He wrote this book. I've been following his message. He's a doctor, he's a physician for a long time. And this book is really eye-opening. It talks about how we need to change medicine in order to take the next step, not just in longevity, but also in living healthier lives as we get older. It's a very interesting book with the changes that he's hoping to make and going from medicine 2.0 to medicine 3.0. So we can all live longer, healthier. The way Connor's, how old is she now? 11?
What are you talking
10?
about? She's like almost 10. Yeah.
10. Okay. Well, I wasn't that far off. And Connor's doing really well. So yeah, what are you reading right now? Into Thin Air. Anything else?
I did start reading TJ Klune's Under the Cerulean Sea, but I only read about a chapter of it because then I realized I had to start my nonfiction. And so far, I kind of seem on the fence about it from the first chapter, even though you can't really tell.
It's a little early.
From the first chapter, just because I don't know if it's my style. It's I think it's about an orphanage with some really magical kids, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit because they had tails.
The kids had tails?
Yeah.
Why would that freak you out?
I don't really know, but it did.
We have tailbones, which are vestiges
of... You
of...
don't have tails?
No. but it's close.
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to start reading it again. But as I said before, I have a really, really long line of the books that I want to read. So
If you had to name one book that you think was the best book you read this year, I'm putting on the spot. Can you think of any?
Let me think. I have to remember every single book that I read. Well, I read The Diary of Anne Frank for school, which was a very really, really difficult book to read, but it was super important. And in my class, we learned all about the Holocaust and everything surrounding that. So I think,
And we visited Auschwitz also
Yeah.
Not that long
and it was
ago.
just
last
amazing
summer.
to see how a 13-year-old girl turned into, and 15-year-old, because it was about a span of 2-3 years.
So she was in hiding for that long?
For that long, yeah. It was just so insane to see how amazing a writer this
And
girl
I was
better than so many adults, and her story is just really, really tragic.
It is tragic on many, many levels. Personally, for her, losing her life after I didn't realize that she had lived in hiding for that long.
For a really long time.
And so she must have died pretty close to the end of the war.
She did.
Yeah.
On almost the last year. I think it was
Last
some
year.
of her family members, because only out of the people that were in hiding, there were about 8 people. There were 2 families. So it was Anne Frank's family, which were her mom, her dad, her and her sister, and then another family, which was this boy Peter, who they also had a love story with, and his parents, and then one more man. So about 3 families, I would say. And they were in hiding for a really long time, and some of the members of that group died only 2 weeks before the war ended.
So sad.
Which is really, really sad.
So sad for a person, but it sounds like she probably could have given a lot to the world, whether she became a writer herself or not. I
And
feel
she
like
already has given a lot to the world.
She has, of course.
With the diary.
Of course, but she had so many more years ahead of her that she could have done so much more with. And when I was in Amsterdam, I think 6 years ago or 7 years ago, I don't remember at this point, I wanted to visit her house, Anne Frank's house, but when we the line was would have been 3 hours waiting, and we just didn't have the time to do that. So I didn't visit Anne Frank's house, but it would be great to go back at some point.
Yes.
And Amsterdam is a great, fun city. So anyway, anything you wanted to add?
Another book that I really liked was also in my English class, because I had this amazing English professor that gave us a lot of really good books. It was Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. I loved that book. It was a mystery book, and it was just such a fun read, because I just love mystery books. So it was out of these 10 people, who murdered this one person? And I don't know, I just really like those books, and I know not everyone else does. It's not always someone's cup of tea, but I just really like that book.
Yeah, and you liked Knives Out, those types of movies also.
Mysteries
So
are really fun.
Yeah, it's not surprising that you liked Agatha Christie. I think you'd also get along with Sherlock Holmes books.
I'm sure.
I think because they have this cool aura of mystery to a lot of the stories. It almost I remember reading them as a kid, where I felt like something almost felt supernatural, even though none of them were. The power of deducing from the environment that Sherlock Holmes possesses is incredible. So I really love those books. I wonder how much you would enjoy them, because Arthur Conan Doyle, the author. I mean, these books were written years ago, so the language is going to be a little bit different, and sometimes that can be for young adults a little bit difficult to get into. Just get past the language so you can enjoy the story. But of course, there are some good adaptations, good movies that you could watch to get an idea of Sherlock Holmes. Have you seen any Sherlock Holmes movies? Or
I saw Enola Holmes, but I don't
No.
think I watched any Sherlock Holmes. Although my friend has been egging me on to watch the Benedict Cumberbatch series of
that's a good
Sherlock
one.
Holmes. So maybe I will.
Who's egging you to do it?
Lizzie.
Lizzie is? She liked it?
Yeah.
Cool. So, and yeah, another thing, this is being, I believe, adapted into a movie or a series too. So that's gonna be interesting, I
Yeah.
think. Have you heard about that? Or
I haven't, but I'm sure it would be cool. But it's gonna be hard to beat the book, because the book, in my opinion, was very good.
Yeah, can you think of any movie that's better than a book that you've seen and read both? It's not easy, right?
I would have to think about it. But I think there was, I know, okay. This is a series of books that I read. I read the Heartstopper series, and the series, the actual movie, the show, was really, really good. I thought it was better than the books.
Yeah. I actually, one thing is the movie doesn't happen without a book. But Andy, you read Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary. You haven't read Martian.
I did not,
but you watched the movie, right? Wasn't the movie fun?
The movie was very good.
And the movie follows the book pretty closely, and the movie is really fun and good. So that's one that's at least on par, I would say, with the book. So anyway, anything else, or are we done with this video?
I think
we're done.
It.
So this was awesome. Thank you, Ania, for joining me. This wasn't your first book review video when you were a little kid.
Don't.
What? I shouldn't leave like a link to your.
No. No,
so
he
good.
pressured me.
When?
Into doing the little videos.
No, Ania was so amazing. No, I didn't pressure you at all. I helped you, but I didn't pressure. So how many years ago was that?
It was like 5 years ago. Yeah, it was like.
You've done some videos.
I was 10, 11, something like that.
You could have been a booktube sensation if you stuck with it.
Yeah, but it was just
millions and millions.
For me, it was just kind of hard to like get the motivation to talk about books.
You got bored with it, basically.
Yeah, after 3 videos.
Oh, listen, better find out early what you're into than, spend a lot of time and then be like, well, I don't like this at all.
Exactly.
But yes, you could have billions and billions of followers the way Carl Sagan would have said. Anyway, thank you guys for watching the video. We recommend Scythe for definitely young SF readers or anyone who's new to the genre. I think will benefit from reading these books because they're easy to read and there's some science fiction, but it's not science heavy.
It's not like science fiction as in like spaceships and going to different planets, different universe.
Right, no physics, no laws of physics that you have to
like in the
have
future
explained.
And this could very well happen in the future. I feel like it's not very far off. Like
some version of it, perhaps not exactly like this.
But I feel like it could happen, honestly.
Yeah. Who do you think?
With the AI.
So who do you think would enjoy these books?
I think definitely new science fiction readers and old science fiction readers too.
Okay.
I'm not calling you guys old or anything.
Oh, I have such a young audience, for sure.
And I think kids definitely for sure.
Yeah.
So if you have like kids or something.
But I would just say
I would definitely recommend.
I would say there is darkness to this book.
Oh yeah.
It is heavy at times, even though it's
some of the sides do like mass murders, and it kind of like talks about that a lot. But honestly, I'm not really fazed by those kinds of things in books. So
you've read a lot.
But
if someone maybe hasn't and is not exposed to it, maybe that's something just worth mentioning. That it is dark. These books are dark. I wonder if you've read Scythe or maybe the follow-ups too. Let us know in the comments below any books that we mentioned, if you've read or if you have any thoughts, or let us know what you're reading now or what we should read. Maybe some recommendations for Ania. Also, those would be welcomed. She enjoys reading, obviously. She's a very thoughtful reader, and I have fun also because I love the fact that I can share the love of reading with my family members. So that's always such an amazing pleasure for me. So I appreciate you, Ania. Let's do the thing.
Oh, no, you're doing it wrong. Wait. I taught my dad the G-lock.
The G-lock.
Now you're cool and hip.
I try. Speaking of hip. We're gonna end it here. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, comment, subscribe if you haven't.
Like and share. Turn on those post notifications.
Exactly. Come on. You can't say no to Ania.
I've always wanted to say that.
Mel, are you gonna do it again? Did you enjoy this?
I mean, if you guys liked it, then leave a comment if I should come on to the channel again.
Yeah. There you go. Now
but if you didn't, then just
no pressure. No pressure at all. Thank you, Ania.
Thank you.
All right, good. I think that was good.
Are we doing it again or no?
I don't know. That was
I feel like we don't need to.
I just think that we talked.
It was pretty chill.